I'd like to interject here that she started that out in a key a half step higher than is normally played, which would make most musicians change to real estate.
I don't know what's wrong with A. It's nice to... Nobody ever told me it was supposed to be hard. I don't think this is what the rest of them are drinking. It's just as well. No, well, as far as keys, I don't know. Are there a lot of piano players or piano players here? Keyboard players? No, that's good. Because I was just going to say that, keys, one should be able to try to play in any key, and it's more interesting that way if you can get out of F and B flat once in a while. Anyway, well, I don't know what you want to hear me talk about, or if you even want to hear me talk, or if anybody has something they'd like to. Yes, sir.
I wonder which of your guests on your show that you've learned the most from, been exposed to something new, or opened your eyes to something?
I don't know, that's a hard question to answer because I really think that I probably learned something in different ways from all of them, one way or another. Like you think, well, I'll never do that again. I know that's not what you meant. I think maybe I learn preparing for the show as much as when it happens, because if it's somebody I'm not that familiar with, I'll go back and like the first time I had Chick Corea on, I was so sure that he was going to do a lot of his own tunes that I really woodshedded them ahead of time, which I might not have done otherwise. So now I have a really pretty good repertoire of Chick Corea tunes. But anyway, he came in playing something like, oh, he wanted to play. So you never know, but I think, I can't name one person though, but probably you learn different things. You learn how to stay out of somebody's way, or how to back them when they're playing, or have so many things. I guess if I sit down and think about it, I could really write a book. I mean, the whole series has been a learning experience. I certainly didn't expect it to go on for 11 years. You know, we did the first. Did anybody hear the first series? I guess it's been around a few times. We had Ruby Blake and Hazel Scott, Mary Lou Williams, Bill Evans. That's one of the things I really treasure. Teddy Wilson, that was great. Oscar Peterson. And, you know, if you could survive those people, survive anything. Yes?
I do have a question. When you perform, when we hear you, you say, you are on the left, or something. You say, he's on the right, I'm on the left, or something. And are you talking about the way I'm looking at it?
You know, it's funny you bring that up, because I always think it's so silly that they have me say that. And one day, just recently, I had Dudley Moore on the show, and he did a whole bit about that. Well, I'm on your right, but am I on their right if they're in the room? So I think I ought to try to explain it better, but it wasn't my idea. That was the idea of somebody at NPR. They come up with these things they want me to say, and I've never really felt that comfortable about saying it, because when I'm saying it, I'm thinking of somebody in their living room scratching their head and saying, what the hell does she mean? Piano's in the other room. But actually the setup is like the guest, I'm here, and the guest is over here. side by side. So I'm saying to this microphone, my guest is on the piano on the right, and I'm at the piano on the left. So this is how it is. This is how it
It
is.
comes out so that I'm hearing you on the right.
I don't know, I've never figured it out. You're right, that speakers actually have me say things that really, I just don't get it, and that's one of them. So, what's another one? Yes, yes.
In addition to being a big fan of yours, I'm a fan of the late Vince Guaraldi. I was wondering if you've ever met him or what you think about his interpretations.
Oh, sure. What was that big hit that he had when he wrote that Charlie Brown theme? Didn't
Oh,
he?
the
And-
pianist pieces is what he's most famous
But wait a minute, what was that really good?
Cast your fate to win.
Right,
Yeah.
that's a really good tune. No, I met him years ago in California, and you know, of course, somebody I'd love to have had as a guest. I think he still has some records out, but he certainly left some great tunes behind. Yes.
I might be asking you to reveal a trade secret, but your programs always seem so extemporaneous. I wonder, do you rehearse or are they in fact extemporaneous?
They are, for the most part, extemporaneous. And, you know, doing that, you can really get it into a train wreck once in a while. But just occasionally, we might do a certain piece over again if it didn't seem to come off right. But for the most part, what you hear is what we did without too much. Or sometimes I think we sort of talk about the tune on the show, like, well, you take the first chorus, I'll take the second chorus, and then we'll trade fours, and that's usually the extent of the rehearsing. I just did a show with Ray Charles, and he didn't rehearse. He just sat down and we played, and I, you know, sometimes people sort of, they're natural born leaders, so they sort of lead where the thing is going, which makes me very happy, you know, because I'm thinking, what are we going to do when we get to the end? How is this thing going to resolve? You know, sometimes the guest just takes it right out where it's supposed to go. And he was one of those people. It was really fun working with him. But as you said, or you asked me, it is, I would say 90% extemporaneous, except I have a list of things written down in case I run dry, you know, things I want to ask. But as it goes along, a lot of times you don't ask the things that are on the list because somebody might sidetrack you and you go off in another direction. Yes?
Well, on Louis Armstrong, we all like him. What influence do you see that he had on the outside, or what art on yourself? What did you learn from him?
It's funny, I still can't help calling Louis because everybody calls him Louis, but I don't know, years ago everybody called him Louis, including me. I can't help it. And I don't know what to say about his influence. I mean, it's just been tremendous on all people, on all instruments, I think.
Could you illustrate a favorite influence of yours on the drum?
Of Louis? Well, let's see. You mean one of his things?
Well, what do you like? Anything? Yes. Just
God, I mean, I heard him so many times live, and we played together years ago, which of course was a big thrill when he had that group at Jacques T. Garden. And that's probably where I learned this tune. Let's see. probably where I first heard Louis before I ever came over here. Yes, sir.
What I love most about your show is, besides the music, is you're so incredibly gracious, and you set an atmosphere which is so, you just give the other person so much credit, and are the opposite of what we're used to, I guess, in the academic world. We don't feel in your show there's competitiveness. And I want you to comment on the relationship between competitiveness and creativity, just in general, in the arts or anything else.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know. It's funny because I think of myself as, like, maybe I have been in the past. Maybe I've leveled off a bit, being sort of pretty competitive or wanting to be as good as the other person. Now, to tell you when I feel competitive is when I'm playing with somebody like George Shearing, when we're doing a concert, and he will do everything possible to get me off the track. And if he hears me do something, he'll do it better, and then I'll think, damn it, now I have to do that. And that's probably the most competitive that I can think of offhand, but I think, gee, that's a very philosophical question. I have to go home and think about that. It's really hard. I can only say that I don't feel any competitiveness with the guests at all. In fact, a lot of times I'm feeling very humble and thinking, good God, here's me, a white English female, sitting here with this person, feeling very grateful to be doing it. And especially with somebody like Oscar Peterson. And I'm thinking, he's sitting here and he's going to let me play.
A question, this is a historical question.
Don't go back too far.
From the 50s on, we've gone through 25 or 30 years of cacophony. How did you make your living during this period? Were you...
That's a good question. No, it's funny. Cacophony, I don't know. That's what it was, either way. I don't remember having too much trouble. There was a period when, I think actually that's when I got into doing dates in schools. While there was sort of a dearth of nightclub dates, and somehow, this is what happened. I was playing a nightclub in Rochester, and I don't remember it being that bad business-wise, but anyway, I was playing this club in Rochester, and the disc jockey said, will you come down and play at the school for the kids? And I said, oh no, they won't want to hear what we're doing. We were doing Lullaby Birdland and Stomping at the Savoy and stuff. They won't want to hear that. He said, oh yes, they will. So anyway, we went to the school, and I guess they were all glad to be let out of algebra. And so they suffered us quite gladly. And these were all 12, 13 years old. So somewhere along the way I said to them, well, what would you people really like to hear? So somebody hollered out, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. So that's how I got into playing in schools, because I couldn't stand it. I thought, well, if this is what they listen to, they have to at least know that there's some other kind of music. We have to let them know that they can play the blues of Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, Count Basie. They have to hear that kind of music. And so I guess I went through whatever period of cacophony. Gee, we still have it, don't we? But I was happy for that, because it did get me involved in playing in the schools, and we're still doing it. We're going to do a date with a high school band on the 18th of March, and we're going to play some new arrangements. And I don't know how it's going to come off. I'm really terrified with this. But I'm sorry I got a little long-winded answering your question. But I think hearing that you ain't nothing but a hound dog, that set me off. Yes.
Seemed like might be a poetic justice that your broadcast might emanate from Red Bank in New Jersey. But I wonder if you played with Ray Bryant or Jay McChann.
Oh, I love both those people, yes. As a matter of fact, we just did second piano jazz with Jay McChann in Kansas City, live at the Folly Theater. We did the whole show live, and then we did the interview part in between. Actually, it just came on, maybe you must have missed that one, came on last year. Ray Bryant, I really have to have again. You know, it's been about 9 or 10 years. I really have to it's funny to have a show going that long that the person was on 10 years ago and hasn't been on since. It's really awful. But, you know, we're trying to keep bringing out new and different people all the time. So, anyway.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware of the current jazz scene in Memphis?
Maybe I have to say no. I know some of the musicians from Memphis. In fact,
Blues?
one of the finest young players in New York, James Williams, is from Memphis. I mean, is there a whole scene starting with the blues in Memphis? I haven't been there for about 3 or 4 years. I'll have to ask James what's going on. I just know that some of the people at Memphis State, and there's a good bass player there named Sylvester Sample, and well, there's a whole Memphis group of young jazz players who came to New York. Somebody said, play. Is there anything you'd like to have played that maybe you could stumble through? Alec Wilder. You get it. I could be here for weeks. vast, expansive tunes. What were you thinking of? Just anything except satin doll. Well, that's not Oregano, but I think that's not Duke Ellington. It's okay. Oh God, here he goes. There's no what were you going to say?
I was going to ask, you've played other people's compositions, certainly Miriam McPartland has written some original scores.
The one that Tony Bennett recorded?
Okay, all right, let's see, some Duke Ellington, and then you said Bill Evans tune, I can do that, I think, and then one of my tunes, okay.
Yeah,
Let's see, well, I'll do, In a Sentimental Mood by Duke, how's that? I guess those of you who have some of his records might have heard it. It's, I'm trying to think what album it's from. It's something he wrote called B minor waltz, I guess because it's in B minor. But the bass player that I had, Steve Laspina, he said, have you got that record that has, he's a big fan of Bill Evans. Anyway, he kind of steered me to this recording and I listened to it and I just decided I had to learn that tune. So, hope I can play it. B minor waltz. one was, one you said that Tony Bennett recorded. Trying to think how this tune came about. It's funny, it was written for Doc Severinsen, believe it or not. And he has the arrangement in the vaults there, and they do play it on occasions. Not for years. But anyway, then somewhere along the line, I had a title for the tune, Twilight World, and it just came out of nowhere. And anyway, with great temerity, offered this tune to Johnny Mercer, and he wrote a lyric to it. I said, well, you know, change the title if you want to, but he didn't. So I'm really thrilled to have a Johnny Mercer lyric. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing.
Maybe a couple more questions. Remember, she's on New York Times.
Well, it's all right. So I was just thinking, you know, with a crowd like this, I could be a real ham. You know, you're wonderful. You know. Are you coming to the concert tomorrow? Yes! Well, I can try and not repeat myself. Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with the tune called Gary's Waltz?
No. Is it Gary Burton?
Yeah, I don't know. I just
Gary Barton?
heard somebody locally play it.
No, I'll have to admit that I'm not, although, you know, maybe now you want me to, I feel like I should track it down. Yes.
I was wondering what kind of rehearsal or preparation you do with each of your guests before they appear, and how much editing has to be done after the
Well, that depends. So, sometimes it depends. I don't know, it's really hard to say because everybody's different. That's what makes it so much fun. I mean, sometimes people really talk a lot, non-stop, and you have to figure a way to, and I really hate to cut in if something is really interesting. So sometimes there's a lot of editing and sometimes a little, but usually what we do is do an hour and a half worth of material for an hour show. So we have more than we need, and we can cut, because, you know, there's all kinds of things that go wrong, like Marion playing a terrible introduction to somebody's tuning. And I'm just trying to think, something I listened to the other day. We did a show with Willie Ruff, bass player, and I just listened to the tape. My God, I couldn't seem to get the introduction right. I did it about 5 times. And so needless to say, that's not on the finished show. And, but if the thing is going along nicely and people are just talking about something really interesting, you know, you try not to edit, or just take out maybe, I have a very good editor. She's wonderful, the producer of the show. I really must tell her that I talked about her today. Sherry Hutchinson. She just did a really nice job on the 200th show. Did you have that one here with the Joe Merlo on GoPro?
Yes, yes.
Has that run yet? And we went on and on and on and on, so she had to cut a lot of stuff out of that one. Anyway, that should answer your question. Yes, sir?
How did your show get started?
It's funny, do you remember, you probably heard the show on NPR, the Alec Wilder song series, when his book came out, American Popular Song, and when his series ended, that's how I got started, because they were sort of casting around for another musical show to have, as Alex said, ended. And so I suggested 2 pianos because I thought it would be easier, and I wouldn't have a lot of trouble getting bass players and drummers and having to work with horn players, so that's what we did. We got 2 pianos. But I always wondered how they came to me in the first place. And I said to Alec, did you recommend me for this? And he said, no, my dear, no, I didn't say anything. But then just a little while ago, they found a letter from Alec in the file at Educational Radio down in South Carolina, writing to this guy saying, I think Marion McPartland would be wonderful for a show. And you know, I mean, I was so grateful to him, but he always denied it. But it didn't have anything to do with it. But that's how it got started. And actually, we started on a shoestring. They didn't have much money, and the Baldwin Company lent us their showroom to do the show. And so there I was in this big studio with about 25 pianos in it. And, you know, we would just pick 2 that looked good, and we would pull them up side by side, and then the engineer would come up from South Carolina, and he set up the tape in the broom closet or something. I mean, can you imagine? We had Teddy Wilson and Bill Evans and all those people in this kind of a setup. In fact, I think you reminded me, Cam, that I said somewhere that it could be like a murder mystery, and you could see the person running around between all these pianos, hiding, you know. And not that we ever actually did that, but anyway, that's how the show got started. And as far as thinking I would be on for 11 years, I mean, I'm still amazed. And there's still so many piano players that we haven't had that it's shameful, but so I hope we could keep going. Yes, sir. Madame.
I was wondering where you think jazz is heading currently, and with respect to young players like Marcus Roberts. Second of all, do you have any secrets or drills you recommend young pianists use to develop a strong right now?
To develop a strong left hand. God, I don't know. Well, you've got to practice. I mean, I don't do it now, but years ago I did practice arpeggios and scales, and then, I mean, you just got to play and play and play and play tenths. I used to worry a lot because I couldn't play tenths like Teddy Wilson. I don't know what Marcus does. Well, I know he practices like crazy all the time, and it's really what you have to do. Yes.
I'm a big fan of Monk. I was wondering what kind of influence he's had in my
Well, I think Monk influenced everybody. I mean, but he was such it's such an odd thing that he could write so many kind of what I think of as quirky kind of tunes, and then he could write something so beautiful like Around Midnight and Ruby My Dear, and some of those things. And a lot of the young players are really learning all those Monk tunes. There's so many obscure ones that are coming out. People are just playing all of them. I don't play that many. Straight No Chaser, and, Round Midnight, and no, as a matter of fact, I don't. That's a great tune, and as a matter of fact, Benny Green played that tune on piano jazz, and I very rashly said I was going to go away and learn it, and I haven't learned it yet. I should take it off the tape, because anyway, did somebody?
Teddy Wilson still playing?
Who?
Teddy Wilson.
Teddy Wilson unfortunately passed away